We could spend all our time looking after our wealth and property and mount guard over it day and night. But even that would not prevent us from eventually having to share it with our enemies. Brigands by day, burglars by night, wild dogs, wolves, and other fierce animals can all descend on us without warning. Obviously, the more wealth and property we have, the more trouble it takes to acquire it, protect it, and try to increase it. Nagarjuna writes, amassing wealth, watching over it, and making it grow will wear you out. Understand that riches bring unending ruin and destruction. Jetsun Milarepa says, in the beginning, wealth makes you happy and envied, but however much you have, it never seems enough. In the middle, miserliness tightens its knots around you. You can't bear to spend it on offerings or charity. Your wealth attracts enemies and negative forces, and everything you've gathered gets used up by others. In the end, wealth's a demon that puts your life in danger. How frustrating to just look after wealth for your enemies. I've cast off this millstone which drags us down into samsara. I want no more of this devil's lure. Our sufferings are in direct proportion to the extent of our possessions. For instance, if you owned a horse, you would worry that it might be carried off by an enemy or stolen by a thief. You would wonder whether it had all the hay it needed, and so on. Just one horse brings plenty of trouble. If you owned a sheep, you would have one's sheep worth of trouble. If all you had was a bag of tea, you could still be sure of having a bag of tea's worth of trouble. So reflect and meditate on how important it is to live in peace. Following the old adage, without wealth, there are no enemies. Inspire yourself with the stories of the Buddhas of the past and uproot all your attachment to money and property. Live on what you find, like the birds, and devote yourself entirely to the practice of Dharma. The fear of losing loved ones. We who live in this world of samsara all feel attachment for those with whom we identify and hostility towards others. For the sake of our families, followers, compatriots, friends and lovers, we are prepared to undergo all sorts of suffering. None of those with whom we have ties of kin or friendship can live forever, and sooner or later we are bound to be separated from them. They die, or they drift off to other countries, or they are threatened by enemies and other dangers, and the suffering they undergo affects us more deeply than our own. Parents, especially, care very much for their children and are constantly worrying that they might be cold, hungry, or thirsty, or that they might fall ill or die. Indeed, they love their children to the point that they would rather die themselves than let them suffer, and for their sake suffer a great deal of anguish. But although we suffer so much from this dread of being separated from the friends and relatives we love, we should think about it carefully. Can we be so sure that our dear ones are as dear as we think? For instance, our parents claim to love us as their children, but their way of loving us is misguided and has an effect that is ultimately harmful. By trying to give us wealth and property and get us married, they are tightening samsara's hold on us. They teach us everything we need to know about how to get the better of our adversaries, how to take care of our friends, how to get rich, and all the other harmful courses of action that will just make sure that we stay inescapably trapped in the lower realms. They could not do worse than that. As for our children, both boys and girls, in the beginning, they suck the essence out of our bodies. In the middle, they take food out of our mouths, and in the end, they take wealth out of our hands. In return for our love, they rebel against us. To our sons, we give all the wealth that we have earned throughout our lives, without counting the cost and regardless of all the negative activities, suffering, and criticism we have had to go through. But they are still not in the least bit grateful. Even if we present them with a full measure of Chinese silver, they are less grateful than any normal person would be if we had given them a pinch of tea leaves. They just think that whatever belongs to their father automatically belongs to them. Our sisters and daughters too swallow up our fortunes without any gratitude. The more we give them, the more they want. If we have so much as a false turquoise as a counter on our rosary, they will wheedle that out of us as well. At the very best, they contribute to the prosperity of other people, but bring nothing to us. But should things go badly, they return home, bringing dishonor and sadness to the family. As for all of our other relatives and friends, they treat us like gods as long as we are prosperous and happy and everything is going splendidly. They do whatever they can to help us and give us all kinds of things of which we have no need. But should we fall on hard times, although we have done them no harm at all, they treat us like enemies and return with malice any kindness we show them. All this goes to show that there is nothing of any worth in sons, daughters, family, and friends, as Jetson Miller expresses in his song. In the beginning, your son is like a charming little god. You love him so much that you cannot bear it. In the middle, he ferociously demands his due. You give him everything, but he is never satisfied. He brings home someone else's daughter, pushing his kindly parents out. When his father calls him, he doesn't deign to answer. When his mother calls, he doesn't even hear. In the end, he is like a distant neighbor. You destroy yourself nourishing a swindler like that. How frustrating it is to beget your own enemies. I've cast off this harness that tethers us to samsara. I don't want any of these worldly sons. He goes on. In the beginning, a daughter is a smiling little goddess, imperiously monopolizing all your best possessions. In the middle, she endlessly asks her due. She openly demands things from her father and steals them from her mother on the sly. Never satisfied with what she's given, she is a source of despair to her kindly parents. In the end, she is a red-faced ogress. At best, she is an asset to someone else. At worst, she'll bring calamity upon you. How frustrating she is, this ravaging monster. I've cast off this incurable sorrow. I don't want a daughter who'll lead me to ruin. Finally, in the beginning, friends meet you joyfully. They smile and the whole valley rings with, "Come in and sit down." In the middle, they return your hospitality with meat and beer. Item for item, exactly 1 for 1. In the end, they cause strife based on hate or attachment. How frustrating they are, those evil friends with all their quarrels. I've given up my dining companions of easy times. I don't want any worldly friends. There is not one of us in the world who does not want to be happy and feel good, and yet none of us gets what we want. For instance, a family trying to make themselves comfortable build a house, but it collapses and kills them. A person might eat to satisfy his hunger, but the food makes him ill and endangers his life. Soldiers go to battle hoping for victory and immediately get killed. A group of merchants go on a trading expedition in high hopes for profit, but are attacked and reduced to beggary. No matter how much effort and energy we expend in the hope of becoming happy and rich in this life, unless actions in our past lives have created that potential, we will not even be able to satisfy our immediate hunger. All we will do is to make trouble for ourselves and others. the only result we can be sure of achieving is not to be liberated from the depths of the lower realms. That is why a single spark of merit is worth more than a mountain of effort. What use are samsaric activities that never come to an end? All the effort we have made throughout beginningless time in samsara, trying to get what we want, has brought us nothing but suffering. In the past, had we taken all the energy we devoted to worldly aims over the early or later part of just one life and devoted that energy to the Dharma instead, we would already be Buddhas by now. And if not, then at least we would definitely never again be subject to the sufferings of the lower realms. We should meditate as follows. Now that we know the difference between what we should do and what we should not, let us stop putting great hopes in samsaric enterprises that will never be accomplished, and instead practice the true Dharma, in which accomplishment is certain.